farming, or shall we say farmers in particular, have not only been not a hot political topic, or even farmers themselves being able to prove a powerful economic, powerful, shall we say, political voice in the UK. I mean, we're not like France are, you know. If a French presidential candidate ever said like anything against farmers or anything like that, it would almost be like an automatic guaranteed loss. That's just how powerful sort of farmers are politically, and they are viewed sort of in France, and even how powerful their own political lobby is in that particular country. Or just look at America, how powerful and influential the farming lobbies are over in America are. We've got nothing like that. You've only got the National Farmers Union being sort of really the only game in town when it comes to an organization that sort of stands up for farmers. And in particular, it's going to be increasingly interesting to see if that position actually changes in certainly the near future. Because as what went very much unreported in the Chesham and Amersham by-election, it was farmers in particular who helped to push the Lib Dems out, well, helped to push, shall we say, the Conservative out by switching over to the Lib Dems. And it will be interesting to see if that phenomenon does continue. Because it certainly looks like that might be the case. The Conservatives, or at least the current Conservative Party, led by these free market fundamentalists, have no interest at all in helping British farming. Heck, they're already trying to get rid of called the ELAM system, or the Economic Land Management System we went over a couple of weeks ago, being the key Brexiteers trying to get rid of those subsidies that are meant to help farmers. And of course, they were also heavily against the Common Agricultural Policy that also gave subsidies to farmers to help them out. And of course, what is we seeing happening? Brexit, once again, this summer, surprise, surprise, farmers are saying they're finding it even harder to get seasonal workers or fruit pickers, potentially leaving, as of what happened last summer, hundreds of thousands of tons of fruit literally left rotting in fields. So let's go diving into this problem again. Almost once again, we're back on that Brexit carousel. Literally, this time last year, we were making almost exactly the same similar videos. But of course, let's, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, as usual. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page and an off-donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So, off we go over to the Independent today with the headline at the title of this article saying that Brexit means fall in crops and far fewer British products in supermarkets, farmers tell MPs. Will they heed this warning? I don't particularly think they will. Brexit has led to a decline in crops and fewer homegrown products on the shelves of Britain's supermarkets, farming chiefs have warned. Farmers in Kent told a visiting group of MPs that it has become easier to import some of the fruits than harvest them themselves because of strict limits on the number of seasonal workers from the EU. And we've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel all the time. It is because they cannot get access to these seasonal workers that they are having huge problems. And remember, these farms are in very rural locations, so you can't just get someone to come and do and fulfill this job. And of course, it's very hard demanding physical labor, as we went over again last year. But of course, oh no, immigrants, we can't have something which makes perfect economic sense. Yeah, we went over again. It's that Brexit carousel. We're back on here before. I won't be surprised if we're discussing it this exact same time next year. Put in a call to future me. Anyway, Winterwood Farms, an agricultural giant based in the country, said that its UK farms had been forced to leave 8% of their fruit crop unharvested and would be planting less in the future. Stephen Taylor, the managing director of the Winter House in Maidstone, said that the government's advice to replace lost EU labour with British workers and robots showed how out of touch ministers had become. What a surprise. Saying, the flow of people coming from Europe to work for the summer has declined every year since Brexit, and particularly the last 2 summers, and as a direct result, we are now growing less and importing more, he said. Calling for more flexible season worker visas, he added, the government could still allow some people to carry out the harvest, but it has inexplicably decided to choke the industry instead. And again, it's to make a very few people, or at least a very select few group of people in its party happy, because they like to, you know, should we say, appeal to the racist side of the party. Labour MP Hilary Benn led the delegations of MPs and industry chiefs to visit Winterwood Farms in Kent to see the difficulties that they are facing with labour shortages. They were told the programme had hit the whole farming sector, resulting in less fresh, more expensive imported fruits in British supermarkets to cover the shortfall. The UK Trade and Business Commission delegation, which is examining the impact of Brexit, also heard that the British farmers' off-seasonal trade had also been hit. It'll be very interesting when that finally reports. We'll be looking out for that commission report soon. Farmers could previously sell their surplus overseas and operations to the EU markets, but the new Brexit red tapes means that they must now pay to dispose of this fruit. Mr. Benn, the co-convener of the Commission, said that the government's immigration and trade policies were raising questions over our food security. And senior Labour MP added, it is essential that ministers urgently consider the introduction of more flexible visas for seasonal workers and negotiate better trading terms for fresh produce with our European neighbours. And of course, that's not going to happen because the government is not interested in talking to the EU at all. And especially given the current, potential crisis happening over in Northern Ireland, they ain't, shall we say, interested in opening that door anytime soon. Mr. Benn and the co-conveyor Peter Norris have written to the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, and Environmental Secretary George Eustace to request urgent meetings on the problems affecting British farmers. Naomi Smith, the chief executive of the international campaign group Best for Britain, said that Boris Johnson ministers might have to stomach more European berries in their PIMS this summer. She added, the government's insufficient Brexit deal, far from being oven ready, actually means quality homegrown produce is left to rot and leaves British supermarkets with no choice but to import, meaning consumers have less choice, less fresh produce, and higher prices. A recent report by the academics of the LES Centre for Economic Performance found that Brexit had caused a 6% increase in Britain's food prices. The study showed a clear and robust impact of Brexit-induced trade frictions increased food prices for UK consumers as families continued to struggle with the cost of living crisis. Are we shocked? Are we surprised? No. This was all predicted way, way back in 2016. And it's the exact same formula. Back in 2016, we said, if we do this, you are going to have to face these barriers. How do you expect to do that? And of course, at the time, Vote Leave and the Brexiteers said, that's not going to be a problem. That's just a Project Fear. We're not going to run out of food. Food security is not a thing anymore. We'll just import it all. And of course, this argument continued to deny essentially the reality. And one of the things we were often fond of saying back then, and is still very true now, that when Brexit meets reality, reality always wins. And in this case, for farming, the reality is that Brexit is harming British farming. It doesn't matter if you get a trade deal with Australia, New Zealand, they're halfway around the world. If a farmer has excess, the nearest place to send it to is Europe. And because of the Brexit trade deal, they cannot do that as easily as they used to, because, again, of the checks required to send it over. Currently, importing, we're waving everything through, but trust me, the second we start to have checks on things like that, we will start to see probably higher prices on even higher prices on imports, as well as delays for stuff like that as well, just as we are seeing with exports. So the future is not looking good for British farming in particular. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a foundation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.